Greetings and salutations, my name is OJ as always, and welcome back to the DBD-a-thon, a series of videos. Well, I say welcome back, but it could also be your first time here. If so, just welcome. This is a series of videos where I cover every single killer in Dead by Daylight, from Trapper all the way up to the recently released Springtrap, as of the time I'm making this video. In these videos, I will cover their lore, aka just reading their in-game bios, because I'm not a lore guy, I'll say that in every video. Talking about their gameplay / power, their teachable perks, as well as their cosmetics. Though today's video, as I'm sure you can assume, well, I say cosmetics, I also mean design / cosmetics. But as I'm sure you can guess from this video and who it's about, you know, cover, name, title, etc. Yeah, the cosmetics bit is it's just gonna be a little bit shorter than normal, right? Yeah. Speaking of who I'm going to be talking about, his name is the Nightmare, also known as Freddy Kreuger. And with all of my videos, let us start first with his in-game bio / his lore. His lore reads such: even while he lived, Freddy Kreuger was a creature of nightmares for those who truly knew him. Hiding behind a mask of warmth and friendliness, Freddy's actual temperament was known only to his victims. When those victims were finally heard, the parents of Springwood tracked Freddy down and took the law into their own hands. They thought that fire had rid them of a monster that night, that their children were finally safe. But evil as strong as his has a way of surviving. Years passed, the horror was buried, the victims mercifully forgot. Then, somehow, Freddy returned, and dreams became nightmares once again. Freddy focuses anger on those he felt had wronged him, building up to his one true obsession, Nancy Holbrook. But he underestimated her strength and resourcefulness. Together with her friend Quentin Smith, she managed to weaken Freddy, mutilating him and leaving him for dead once more. Death didn't want Freddy the first time he encountered it. Why did they think it would take him now? He emerged once more, consumed with vengeance. And then he turned his sights on the boy who had blocked his path to Nancy, his number one. Freddy invaded Quentin's dreams, terrorizing him night after night until his strength and defenses would be at their lowest. When the time was right, he forced the boy to return to the dark reflection of Badham's preschool. Here, he would have his final revenge. Freddy stalked the boy through the school's halls. He took his time, savoring every moment of the hunt. This was what he enjoyed the most: the smell of their sweat in the air, the ragged gasps of their terrified breath. They were his to toy with. There was a boy at the end of a long corridor, too tired and scared to run anymore, resigned to his fate. Freddy closed in, arms wide, claws raking the wall. Their tips traced along a pipe, the metallic shrieking only adding to the boy's apprehension. A shower of sparks rained on the ground and into the liquid that covered the tile floor. A blue flame blossomed and quickly engulfed the room. The boy took flight as Freddy burst from the flames in a fury. Rooms and walls raced past in a blur until they were in Freddy's basement. There would be no escape from here. Slowly, Freddy closed in on the boy. His fear was so strong now that Freddy could almost taste it. But his eyes burned with a defiant hatred that was almost admirable. Freddy drew back his claws. Then, Freddy felt another presence with him. Something old, powerful, and dark. A miasma enveloped him, and the only sensation was a sound like wooden beams flexing and creaking in the distance. The echoing groan of metal crushed against metal. Something arcane and unknowable, halfway between language and pure terror. A moment of falling and spinning, and then Freddy was back in the school. But not his school. It looked the same, but it felt different. His powers were tempered in some ways and focused in others. The boy had gone for now, but another prey walked the hallways. Some would be inconsequential, others would become his new favourites. All would fall before his claws. Now, I forgot to mention this before I started reading out his lore, but this version of Freddy Kreuger is from the 2010 2010 remake, which I'm going to give a hot take real quick. It's not very hot. It's probably freezing cold. That kind of sucks. That it's from the 2010 remake. If I remember correctly, the original Nightmare on Elm Street films have licensing issues. Shocker. What horror franchise doesn't have licensing issues in some way, shape or form? I don't know why that happens so often, actually. That, like, Jason Voorhees is obviously the biggest example I can think of. But Nightmare on Elm Street 2, it just sucks that we don't have Robert Englund's Freddy, who is a infinitely more interesting character, funner to look at, more fun, just full stop. What I would kill to just have Robert Englund's Freddy in the game in some way, shape or form. A skin obviously would be the most obvious way to put him in, but still. And for those that are wondering, my relations to the 2010 remake of Nightmare on Elm Street are damn near non-existent. I haven't even watched the kill count on it, which, for those that don't know, is usually how I consume horror films, because I'm a bit of a wuss and can't handle them. Though I am always getting better at this. It just really sucks that this is not Freddy from, the original Nightmare on Elm Street films. He would be far more fun. I think his voice lines could be an absolute delight. Having another killer in the game like Springtrap, who just is doing this for the love of the game and is enjoying the hell out of just murdering people. But yeah, I think it's awesome that, I think it sucks. What am I saying? I think it sucks that it's not, Robert Englund Freddy. But otherwise, I think his lore is fine. It's okay. I mean, it's kind of cool, though, that his powers are tampered. I know it's obviously for gameplay reasons, because Freddy can do anything in a dream world, and they need to, sort of nail it down to just a power that he can actually control. But it is neat that they acknowledge that the entity put that sort of lock and key on Freddy to prevent him from just being too overpowered. But speaking of gameplay and powers, that's what we're moving on to next. His gameplay and his power. Now, Freddy's power is probably the most complex one I've had to talk about in all of these videos thus far. It starts with the actual effect of his power, that being called Dream Demon. The nightmare is cloaked from awake survivors. While they can hear his terror radius, he is not always visible to him. The nightmare, so Freddy is invisible to survivors further than 32 meters away, intermittently visible to survivors 16 to 32 meters away, and fully visible closer than 16 meters away, which plays into the other part of him where he can put survivors to sleep, putting them in his dream world by proxy. Survivors can wake themselves up with a alarm clock, which wakes them up, gets them out of the dream world. But as long as they're in the dream world, they suffer from the Oblivious status effect, which is, I believe, the one where you cannot hear the terror radius of the killer. Hitting survivors with basic attacks will pull them into the dream world if they are not already in it. And within the dream world, his actual power, like the active stuff that you use, can now affect a survivor. Those two, because he has two powers. Well, it used to be one power and you had to use add-ons to pick which one you wanted. Now they, thank God, after 10 years of waiting, changed it so he has both of them. But said powers, first things first, are the dream snares, which are a sort of projectile he can make go across the ground, and if it hits a survivor, they suffer from a 15% hindered status effect, which basically means they're 15% slower. Which, as I mentioned in the last video, the Leatherface one, the build I'm using in the footage right now should, totaling up if everything works correctly, affect a survivor with a 30% hindered status. That is foul, and I'm very proud of figuring this build out, because I haven't actually seen anyone use it before. Don't know why no one uses Knockout. It's actually surprisingly good since it got changed from being a slugging perk. But yeah, dream snares are fine. They're quite decent. I like hindering. I like making the survivors slow. It's funny to see survivors try and run away and they're actually at a snail's pace. And his other power are dream pallets. Dream pallets suck. The dream pallets suck because they're what they actually do, right? He replaces the pallets, or you can replace already pallets that have been destroyed, right? You can replace them with dream pallets, They're very clearly dream pellets because they are like glowing red, but they can be thrown down and they act a bit like the anniversary pellets where they destroy immediately when hitting the ground. Weirdly though, he can be stunned by his dream pellets, if I remember rightly, with the new update. But to counteract that or make it not as bad, he can make the dream pellets explode to do a bit of damage to the survivor, like a health state. Which sounds good, but I don't know. They're really, really obviously dream pellets. Survivors can just chuck them down without any repercussions, even when you go to explode them. Like, if they chuck them down quick enough, they won't explode, if I remember rightly. And they can stun him. Why can his own power stun him? That might be even worse than Trapper having to go around and pick up his power. Why can his own power stun him? That's stupid. I mean, it sounds good on paper, oh, it can do a free health state, what? And then you actually use it, it's arse. Thank God the dream snares are fun to use and, relatively strong, because otherwise he'd be screwed. And funny enough, he also has a third power. I said he was complex, right? He can teleport to any generator that is being actively worked, or not actively worked on. He can teleport to incomplete generators, which causes blood to spew from said selected generator. It's a map traversal tool. It allows you to get some form of pressure map-wise, which does help him, because otherwise he doesn't really have much good map pressure. And it's fine, though it is obviously very clear that he's showing up at whatever gen he clicks on, because, spewing blood. It's kind of hard to miss that, But yeah, overall, I think his gameplay and his power are fine. I don't think his power's strong enough that he needs survivors to be in a dream state. I get why he has this dream state effect thing, because obviously, he can't affect people if they're not sleeping, blah, 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 but his power's not strong enough to have that limitation on it. There's killers who have stronger powers, and they have no such limitation on them. 15% hindered sounds like a lot, and it is, but it's not game-breaking. He's not going to be the next nurse if you get rid of his thingy, dream world. You can see it in the clips in the background. Sometimes I throw out a dream snare thinking it's going to work, and then it doesn't, because I forget, oh wait, they need to be asleep. And it's just kind of why do they need to be asleep? It's kind of just stupid. But anyways, moving on from his gameplay, we're going to talk about his teachable perks. And all of his teachable perks revolve around the endgame, the first being Blood Warden, with a description reading as such. As soon as an exit gate is opened, Blood Warden is activated. The auras of any survivor located within exit areas are revealed to you. Once per match, hooking a survivor whilst Blood Warden is active calls upon the entity to block both exits for all survivors for 40, 50 or 60 seconds respective of its level. With flavor text reading, "This is my world, and you care never leave." Why did I put on that accent for Freddy? God knows, and I'm never going to explain why I did. Anyways, this perk is fine. It's okay. It's recently seen a resurgence because of Springtrap, because he has an add-on where as long as a survivor has the axe on them, exit gates, or the exit thingy, the doors, the gap, the bit that they go out of, that's blocked. So you throw an axe, you block every survivor from leaving, you grab the survivor, do the funny jump scare, hook them, and then they're blocked in there for another 60 seconds. That's... Otherwise, I've not seen anyone ever use this perk, including myself. Because, I don't know, because the exit gates have to be open, and if they're open, the survivors are probably leaving. Unless they're doing the stupid thing where they try and play around with you and teabag whilst they're, within killing range. It's rare this perk gets much value outside of Springtrap, which, admittedly, I will say, that Springtrap build is surprisingly fun. So, big up Blood Warden for finding value, 6 years later? But yeah, I think the perk's kind of bad otherwise, but hey-ho, what can you do? Moving on to his next perk. Said next perk is Fire Up, with a description reading as such. The increased pressure of losing your prey fills you with anger and gives you unsuspected motivation. Each time the survivor completes repairs on a generator, Fire Up grows in power. For each generator completed, gain a 4, 5 or 6% stackable buff that grants a speed bonus to picking up, dropping, vaulting, damaging generators, breaking pallets and breaking walls for the remainder of the trial. With a description reading, "Why don't you just effing die? Freddy Kreuger." Now, why did I just censor myself saying effing? I don't know why I did, actually. Keep YouTube happy. I mean, I'm not even close to being monetized or whatever, but, you know, keep them happy just in case in the future they come back and smite me for saying it in a single video. But anyways, this perk is okay. It's pretty neat. I do like that it buffs picking up and dropping rates or speeds, because there's like only one other perk that does that, and that's the ghoul. Why do I keep mentioning the ghoul? The ghoul has come up in like the last 4 videos, it feels like. I keep talking about him. We're going to get to him in a while. It's going to be a while till I get to him, and when we do, who knows what he's going to be like. But yeah, I like that you get a buff to picking up and dropping survivors. Again, as I said, all of his perks are revolved around the endgame. I don't really think there's much to be said here. It's a fine enough perk. It gives you a buff to everything. The only issue is obviously all generators have to be completed for you to get the maximum buff, which is 30% increase in speed to all of those things. And by then, if you've gotten that far into the game and you're still struggling to get kills, it might just be over, man. Theoretically, only now do I realise that you could potentially use it in like a vaulting build, because by like the 4th generator you get an extra 24% from this, which, you know, stack that with Bamboozle and the Vecna perk, you can have like 64% increased vault speed. But otherwise, this perk is fine. It's okay. It's neat. It's alright. Any other word like that, you know. But with that said, move on to his final perk. Said final perk being Remember Me, with a description reading as such: when the obsession takes damage, gain 1 token, up to 3, 4 or 5 respective of level. Other survivors open exit gates 30% slower for each token, with flavor text reading, "You don't remember? You must. You're my number 1, and you'll never wake up again." Also a quote from Freddy Kreuger. Wow, this perk is fine. Again, they're very fine. However, similar to Blood Warden, it has seen a recent resurgence in use thanks to the Springtrap perk that I don't remember the name of, where it makes it so the exit gates will like regress from, I think it's above 80%. And you can imagine you have this perk plus that perk and it equals, you know, they will not be opening. If they 99 those exit gates, they're going to have to wait another like 20 seconds to open it again. It's why that perk, the Springtrap one, got nerfed from 50% to 80% of it being completed, because I think they realized, oh wait, people will combine these perks together, then we're going to have a problem. Otherwise, it's fine. It's okay. I feel like a lot of endgame perks kind of suffer from the same issue, that if you're in the endgame, it usually is over. Very rarely do you get to, you know, capitalize on endgame perk. I mean, that's just my experience, though. Not to brag, but in some of my previous videos, such as the nurse video, I ran an endgame build and never even got to use a single perk. But then again, that's Nurse. She's the strongest in the game. Why am I not surprised? But yeah, Remember Me is fine. It's okay. It's whatever. You know, it's got its resurgence because of the Springtrap perk, and now it's, you know, it's no longer bad. It's niche. But yeah, anyways, moving on to his design and utter lack of cosmetics. Now, as I've said and will say many more times in any of these licensed killer videos, a lot of my props for their designs go straight to the people that originally designed them for whatever property that they come from. And speaking of, Freddy Kreuger, in my opinion, I think he's got one of the better designs of the horror icons that we have in the game. It's simple, sure, but it is very iconic for a reason. The red and black striped sweater is, you know, it's a simple piece of clothing, but because, you know, red is the colour of blood, and it's on a man with burned skin. Like, by the way, burned skin head to toe. It's a striking design, and the sweater kind of like helps bring it out almost. Like, I don't know, something about the red sweater just kind of clicks. I don't know who decided that it needed to be a red and black striped sweater, but whoever did, props to them, because it looks great. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention his choice of weaponry, which is a weird finger glove knife hand. It's iconic for a reason. It's weird, it's odd, and it doesn't really make much sense. Why? Did he use the knife hand on the children that he killed or whatever? Like, we did worse to the children, but we're not going to talk about that, right? It's a unique design, but again, I am forever devastated that this is not Robert Englund's version. Englund? How do you say his last name? You know what I mean. You know who I'm on about as well, right? It's just, this version of Freddy feels almost like soulless. I don't know. Not having Robert Englund's voice or personality or expressions or any of that just makes this version of Freddy feel kind of soulless. It's the same design. It's like got all the same positives of the original design from like the 1980s film. It's got all the positives of that original film's design. It's got the same features, blah blah blah, the hat, the glove, the sweater, but yeah, it just don't hit the same. It just doesn't. I just look at him and think, man, imagine if you were Robert Englund right now. I would be so much more happy. Well, they'd also have to do some changes to his power, because I think his power is kind of a missed opportunity, but still. With all of that said, we arrive at the end of the video once more. As I've said many times throughout this video already, Freddy is fine. I forever wish it was Robert Englund, and I also wish he had kind of a cooler power, because his power is kind of boring, considering I know he can do anything, and that's kind of hard to put in the game. Is the reason why Mr. Scratch from Alan Wake 2 isn't in the game, because he can do anything. But blood on the floor that slows people down, that's kind of boring. It's kind of boring. I should have said that earlier in the gameplay section, but yeah, it's kind of boring. Same goes for the pallets, kind of boring. But yeah, I think Freddy has kind of missed opportunities. I wish it was Robert Englund. Keep saying it till I die. But yeah, anyways, with all of that said, I hope you have a good evening, afternoon, morning, etc. I hope you're enjoying the DBD-a-thon, and we move on to our next subject, our next killer, that being Amanda Young, also known as the Pig.